Okay, so in our last section, we did one-step addition equations. Now we're doing one-step subtraction equations. But really, if you understand the concept of how to solve a one-step equation when it's addition, then you should be able to easily apply that to subtraction, also multiplication and division, right? It's just these are going to be subtraction equations instead of addition equations. But process kind of remains the same. So example 1, we're going to write the equation. We don't have to solve. So Brianna's gymnastics club collected 83 toys for a toy drive. This is 26 fewer than the number of toys collected by LaToya's dance team. Write a subtraction equation that can be used to find the number of toys collected by LaToya's dance team. So again, if I'm writing an equation here, there's an unknown, right? There's something I don't know. What do I not know? I don't know how much LaToya's dance team collected. So that's going to be my let step. So I'm going to do let, I'm going to do L for LaToya. I am going to make it a cursive L so it doesn't look like a 1. So that L represents LaToya's dance team. I'm just going to write LaToya's, and I'm going to know that that represents how many toys they collected. And it says Brianna's gymnastics club collected 83 toys for the toy drive. This is 26 fewer, okay, fewer means subtract, right, than LaToya's dance team. So that means if I take LaToya's dance team and I subtract 26, I would get what Brianna's dance team collected, which was 83, so equals 83. Okay, now I do want to point out that's probably the most straightforward way to write this equation. I also could have said, well, if I take LaToya's and I subtract 83, I would get the difference between the two, which is telling me it's 26. Either one of those equations would work. Said I feel like this one's probably the more straightforward option, but both these equations, if you think about it, when you solve it, you're going to get the same answer, so they're both right. Okay, B, to fill a car with gas, Xander needed 13 1/4 gallons. This is 8 1/2 fewer gallons than the amount of gas he needed to fill a truck. Write a subtraction equation that could be used to find the number of gallons of gas needed to fill the truck. Okay, so again, what's the thing? I don't know. I don't know how many gallons of gas it's going to take to fill the truck. Okay, so I'm going to go let G equal gas to fill. Okay, just a short, sweet explanation of what that G is standing in place of. And it says to fill a car, he needs 13 1/4 gallons. It's 8 1/2 fewer again, so subtraction, than the amount he needed to fill the truck. So if I take the gas that he needs to fill the truck and I take away the 8 1/2, I'm going to get the amount needed to fill a car, which is 13 1/4 gallons. Okay, and again, we could talk about how I could write it both ways, like I did on A, and that's fine. I'm just going to write it this way this time, but understand I could do a switch kind of like I did up there on that, and that would work because it is a subtraction equation. Okay, all right, example 2 and 3. Okay, again, we're going to start solving them. Remember, whether it's subtraction or addition or multiplication or division, the goal's the same. Get the variable by itself. How do I get the variable by itself? Is by looking at what's happening to the variable and doing the inverse of it. So again, step 3 here, I need to be able to get to y equals. Step 3 here, I need to be able to get to e equals. That's my end game, is I always want to be able to tell you this variable is equal to this number. Well, so like on A, it's y minus 18 equals 5. What is happening to y? It's minusing 18. So how do you want to do a minus 18? Well, the opposite of minus would be to add. So I need to add 18 to get that to go away. But again, it's an equation. It's got to remain balanced. If I add 18 to one, I got to add 18 to the other. And then again, we're going to be talking about those properties. Well, what did I do? I added the same number to both sides of the equation. That's that addition property of equality. So that's the APE, would be the abbreviation. When I do that, I'm going to get y minus 18 and plus 18 equals 0. So I'm going to end up getting y minus 0 plus 0. It doesn't really matter the way I write it. We can write plus 0, just to make it easier, is equal to, and then 5 plus 18 is going to give me 23. Okay, and again, what properties did I use to get that? Well, that minus 18, that plus 18, it'd be that property we used when we were doing addition equations. That I knew it was going to be 0. That's that additive inverse property again. So that's the AIP is the code I would use for it. And then again, just to know that 5 plus 18 equals 23, that's just substitution. So just sub. And then again, y plus 0 is the same as y because anything plus 0 is itself. That is this IPA, the identity property of addition, right? So that's going to be the IPA property. And y plus 0 equals 23, so it is just y equals 23, right? Okay, go through the next one here a little quicker. So 20 equals e minus 14. So I'm taking away 14 from e. The opposite of that would be to add 14. But if I add 14 to one side, I got to add 14 to the other side. Again, what am I doing? I'm adding to the same side. So that's addition property of equality, or I'm adding to each side. Okay, 20 plus 14, right? That's going to give me 34. That minus 14 and that plus 4. Okay, I'm going to get e. That's going to give me a 0. So I'm going to get e plus 0. Again, same two properties here. I first used substitution just to say that 20 plus 14 was 34. And then I use that additive inverse property to tell you that minus 14 and plus 14 would be 0. So AIP would be the code. And then again, e plus 0 is really the same as just e because anything plus 0 is itself. So e is equal to 34 then. And again, that's an identity property of addition. Okay. All right. Example 3, go through, show the work, check my solution. Okay. B is, I'm taking away 8 from it, so the opposite would be to add 8. If I add 8 to one side, I got to add 8 to the other side. Again, minus 8 plus 8, that's going to equal 0. I'm just going to cross it out to show that. 17 plus 8 would be 25. So 25 then equals, drop the b down, equals b. Substitute 25 in for b and make sure the equation is right. So 17 needs to equal 25 minus 8. So is 25 minus 8 17? Yes, it is. So I know my solution is correct. J minus 6. Okay, so I'm going to need to add 6 to get j by itself. If I add 6 to the left side, I'm going to add 6 to the right. The minus 6 plus 6 would cancel out. Drop that j down. Drop the equal sign down. 18 plus 6 is 24. Check my answer, put the 24 in for j. So 24 minus 6 needs to equal 18. Does it? Yes, it does, so I know my answer is right. Again, we got fractions, decimals, doesn't change anything. Y minus 4.5, so I'm going to need to add 4.5 to each side to get y by itself. Again, that's that addition property of equality. The minus 4.5, the plus 4.5 is going to cancel out. It's going to equal 0, right? That's that additive inverse property. Drop the y down, drop the equal sign down. I'm adding together 2 1/4, 4.5 again. Common denominators, that good stuff. But for the sake of time, we'll just get the answer here quickly. It's going to be 6 3/4. Check my answer, plug that back in for y. So make sure that 6 3/4 minus 4 1/2 does equal 2 1/4. Okay, checking it real quick. So it'd be 6 3/4 minus 4 2/4. That is going to equal 2 1/4. So my answer checks out. I know without a doubt it's right. Okay, if my check doesn't come out, I know I messed up somewhere up here, and I need to figure out what my mistake is. Okay. All right, D 5.8 equals F minus 3 3/35. I'm taking away 3 3/35 from F, so the opposite would be to add it. I add to one side, I got to add to the other side. So the minus 3 35 and 3 35 hundredths, and the plus 3 35 hundredths is going to cancel out, right? So then I'm going to be left with F equals, I'm taking 5 8/10 plus 3 35 hundredths. I add those together. I'm going to get 9 15/15. Again, check it real quick. Plug that back in for F. So 5 8/10 better equal 9 15/100 minus 3 35/100. Okay, again, that is going to check out. So then I know 9 15/100 minus 3 35/100 is going to equal 5 8/10. So I know without a doubt my answer is right.